Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Chit Chat podcast. My name is Guy Magno. I'm your host. We just want to say, again, thank you so much for joining us on this fun little podcast adventure. I just got done recording this podcast with my friend, Allie Davids, who's an interior designer at HMA Architects. We got to talk about things that we love, like good design and fun buildings. And I think because it's me, we ended up on good food again. But it was super, super fun. I'm excited for you to hear this podcast. Thanks for listening, everybody. Allie, thank you so much for joining us on the Chit Chat podcast. It's great to have you with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so Allie, would you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are, where do you work, what do you care about? Yeah, just give us a little introduction.
Okay. Well, I'm Allie Davids. I work at HMA Architects. It's been about 5 years. I've been in the industry for about 15, which is kind of crazy to say.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe it's been 15 years. I enjoy all sorts of stuff, I guess.
Yeah, great. 15 years, it feels old. Yeah, I kind of get that. Mm-hmm. Someone asked me yesterday, how long have you been a photographer? And I was like, well, I guess the first time I got paid for something, I did the math on it. It was 17 years ago. And I was like, oh, it's been a hot sec.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
It feels weird once you get over like that 10-year mark.
Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah, now it's been a decade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm almost at like an adult, right? At like once I hit 18, yeah. Right? an adult's age worth of, no, that's not working.
Well, somebody has been made and has grown a whole life, and they can start the same job
right.
at 18.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Well, sweet. Okay, Allie, as we're getting going here, this is a honey lavender latte. Mm-hmm. I know that you happen to be a fan of things honey lavender, and so that's what we've made for you today with, of course, our little stroopwafel. Mm-hmm. And so thanks for coming, and cheers. Perfect. Thank you for coming, Allie.
Thank you. I do quite enjoy lavender.
I do too. Mm-hmm. You need a steady hand with it, right? Because like if you put too much lavender in, it tastes like soap. You know, it gets.
So you bake with your own lavender?
Say again?
You bake or cook with your own lavender?
No, I'm just saying like when you're introducing it into things, like you know, like in the coffee shop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Yeah. So you just got to be careful. You know, I don't have lavender.
You don't?
I don't. Do
so
you have lavender?
I do have lavender.
Like growing at your house?
No.
Oh.
But I get the lavender flavoring. So
okay.
During COVID, did you have like that one thing that you were supposed to learn?
Yeah.
What was it?
I mean, contentment. No, I don't know.
Okay. You didn't pick like I'm going to master this one thing, and it's going to be.
So, you know, I was surrounded by people like my lovely wife who sourdough, her and exactly 8 million other people in America picked sourdough. We started Kinder at the beginning of COVID. Like we were 8 days in, Taylor and I were on a phone call, and it was like, hey, we're trying to open a coffee shop, and all of that got shut down. We had 2 locations picked out. In 2 different communities, and we were deep. I mean, we were starting to design both of them already. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, we hadn't sent any checks yet. You know, we hadn't signed on anything. I mean, I think had COVID hit a couple months later, we could have been in trouble. You know, with just having some leases, etc., in place. But anyway, so we were deep in that. We're like, okay, well, maybe. I mean, the goal was to get coffee to people and be a part of the coffee community in Central Minnesota. And so, why don't we do a coffee roaster instead? And so I think instead of sourdough, our energy was like coffee roasting, everything about coffee. What was your thing that you...
So it goes back to lavender.
Okay.
So my sister actually had this idea that we are going to learn how to bake macarons. And she's like, we're going to master this. And I was like, okay.
Macaron or macaron? Because these are different things.
Macaron.
The ones with coconut or the ones with like
Almond?
little French pastries?
They have a top and a bottom and filling.
Okay. All right.
Which one is that?
I think macaroon. I think that's a macaroon. Anybody? Anyway,
Anyways,
the other ones are the little balls of coconut
Oh yeah,
with
no,
with sweetened condensed milk, and then like they're half dipped in chocolate.
yeah,
Okay.
not those.
Okay.
But we were going
I'd
to
also
learn how to
recommend
master. Yeah, have you baked them?
No, but I've eaten them. They're
Okay.
delicious. Okay, so you're gonna
We're going to master this.
delicate French pastry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what level you have to master to?
A lot.
Yeah.
I think they're really hard,
They're
right?
one of the top ones that are hard to make. Well, we decided we're going to master this.
Okay.
And so we got everything. And we made them. And I have successfully made 2 batches. Wow. My sister has made many, many more.
Okay.
She's quite good at it now. She's not a baker whatsoever, but she makes them for holiday occasions. And we decided we're going to make them and we're going to flavor them a bunch of different things.
Okay.
And so we did like a chocolate, campfire one, and all these other
Like
ones.
smoky? Like what's
Yeah.
that's kind of fun.
Like with marshmallow filling and
great.
we went all over. Lavender is my favorite.
Okay.
So that's why I have lavender flavoring.
You know, being a macaroon expert as you are, what is the most challenging, like in the bake itself? Like, what's the thing that's the most challenging about it? What's the most temperamental?
How many times you mix it,
Okay.
and how long you set it, and what kind of flour. Well, so it's almond flour, and what kind of sugar. So there is a very specific sugar that makes it set right. Otherwise, the inside could be hollow, or it can crack.
None of those are good.
No.
No.
Okay. And all of the flavor actually comes from the filling.
Really? Mm-hmm. So there's no flavoring of any kind in the little like cookie top and bottom.
Not supposed to be.
Huh. Fascinating.
Maybe somebody can correct me if they actually are, but
Right.
no, traditionally they are not.
Oh, fascinating.
Coloring, yes,
Okay.
but not flavoring.
All right. I think one of my favorite things about them, besides the fact that they're delightful and so tasty, I love their little look. I think
yes.
they're just like cute.
They are cute.
And really fun. I love all the colors and yeah, it's a really sharp looking pastry.
And they're delicious when they're done right.
Yeah. We've had a handful of clients over the years, I think 4 to be exact, who have sent us to Sioux Falls for something. I don't know why Sioux Falls. I don't think I've ever been sent to Des Moines, right? Like, which is another kind of like hub in the Midwest.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been sent to Madison, like whatever. But for some reason, Sioux Falls, I've been to Sioux Falls more times than I can count because of a handful of these clients, right?
Okay.
So I have this like kind of love, deep, deep love for Sioux Falls. It's a really fun little community. And they have this wonderful French patisserie, little French bakery. And they serve incredible macaroons and all kinds of just like decadent and delicate, beautiful little things. So hypothetically, if you get to Sioux Falls, you should go look for the little French pastry.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah. Have you ever been to France?
I have been to France.
And how was it?
It was fabulous.
Yeah?
Went to Italy along with it.
Oh, on the same trip. That's great.
So France, we stayed in a hostel. It was quite quaint. And then Italy, we took a tour, and it's a trip I won't ever forget.
Fun. When was France and Italy?
So it was, I think, a year after we got married, or maybe 2 before we had children.
Oh, great.
Which was perfect because we didn't have to bring them along or get to bring them along.
There you go.
And we went with my parents and my sister, and it was wonderful.
Sweet. I've driven like in a bus. I drove through France. I have
Why did you drive through France?
just like on some of these trips into Europe where
Okay.
just going in between countries, and we went through on one of these trips the entirety, like had to drive through the entirety of France. So like I've slept my way through like, all night long through a big chunk of France.
Yeah.
And I've flown in and out of Paris a bunch of times, but like just in the airport. So like I have like no relationship with like, I basically have never been to France. I did get to see the Eiffel Tower from the airplane, but on one of these trips, I was flying into Paris. I was pretty young. I think it was maybe in like middle school or high school. And what I had been told is that French people hate Americans, right? This is kind of this trope. And so like I went in kind of like prepared that like I'm for this like short amount of time that I'm going to be there, like maybe be ready because these people will hate me or something like that. So I just kind of had that little bend. And I was on a flight into Paris, and it was a fully French staff. Staff, is that the right word? Flight attendants and pilots and stuff. And I had a retainer because high school, right? And I took out my retainer at lunchtime.
Oh gosh, what happened to the retainer?
And I set it on the tray, looked at it. That's gross, because it is.
Yeah.
And then I put a napkin over top of it. And then I'm sitting there, and I fell asleep, sitting in the chair. And a flight attendant came by and picked up the tray without me knowing and dumped it into one of the many garbages on this plane. And I am on my way for I think the whole trip was like 2 months long. And I had just got the retainer. And so I had this fresh kind of heeding and warning from the orthodontist, like, you have to wear your retainer. You can't not wear it. Otherwise you've wasted this whole thing. And so I'm going to be gone for 2 months on this trip, and I have no retainer, and I'm devastated. I'm scared. And I went to one of these flight attendants in kind of like the galley way, kind of that center area. And I'm trying to explain in English, which is the only language I know. And this flight attendant, she spoke enough English, but like retainer, this was a word that was not, we weren't figuring that one out. And finally we kind of got there. And then she just said, the garbage, I'm trying to tell her like my retainer, and she realized what happened.
Wait, can you reenact that? Because I would love to know how you explained retainer.
I don't remember, but like it, it's my teeth in the, probably like making the sound of how it sits in there.
Suction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
and remember, I'm holding this thought. French people hate Americans, right? Then this absolutely lovely flight attendant in French, she just starts calling, and all of these flight attendants come, and I'm just standing there in this kind of like galleyway, I don't know, this center part where we all know, okay, we know what we're talking about here. And she's like giving these like commands and orders, and then she starts pointing, and like 2 by 2, dunk, 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 they all take off, and she goes and starts boiling water. So like she's starting boiling water, and then all of these flight attendants, they put on gloves, and they dug through every single garbage on that airplane.
My goodness.
Every single one of them. And it's like, we're talking like a, across the ocean kind of flight, a big giant plane, tons of garbages. These things pull out, and these lovely flight attendants are just digging through this garbage until they found my retainer. And then she sterilized it in boiling water for me, and I made it the 2 months with my retainer.
And you popped it in right away after shoot?
Yeah, of course. I mean, like, I watched her sterilize it. It was boiling water, and it was just this like wonderful little life lesson of like, let people kind of like prove for themselves if they're going to be nice or not, and maybe set some of your prejudice aside. Because my one interaction with like the country of France were these lovely flight attendants who dug through 200 people's garbage and found my retainer for me. So be good, and don't have prejudice towards the French people. Yeah.
I also believe that they did have a campaign
Yeah.
that people were not visiting France because of
that.
And so they advertised that they should be nice to welcome everybody to come.
For real?
For real. So
That's great. That's great.
there might also be that too.
It's wonderful. Oh, cool. Okay, Allie, you and I got to know each other. Switchboard is working on some projects for HMA, which has been so much fun. I love what I do, but when we get to do what we love to do with people that are really passionate about the thing that they care about, the way that they help people, the way they kind of like make a mark on the world, that is extra fun for us. Like, I mean, we'd love to help anybody, but people that are really passionate about what they do is so much fun. And that's what it's been like working with HMA. So when we were thinking about the podcast, I for sure thought, I want to have Allie on there because your love of design and just some of the conversations we've had. So if you wouldn't mind, I'd love to just like chat a little bit more about what you love about design. Kind of how did you get into interior design? I think in a different life, I would love to be an interior designer. I love thinking about spaces and designing spaces. And now I've been inside of so many of your spaces, and I've seen just how you guys go about it. I just think it's absolutely fascinating. So would you just maybe like fill us in a little bit? How did you How did you know, like, when did you know, oh yeah, I want to be an interior designer? And then how did you go about kind of going through education, and how did you get here?
So, the love of design probably started when I was a little kid. So, Barbies.
Okay.
I started all with Barbies. My parents very nicely gave me a room in our unfinished basement where I could set up Barbies and I could play with them. And instead of communicating the Barbies back and forth, I would just build their houses. And my dad owned a machine shop, and he would bring home parts, and sometimes they would look like toilet paper or like water fountains or whatever, bunk beds, and he would help me make whatever I wanted. And so I made this whole room
All stainless steel.
a negative.
Okay.
I mean, he quite loves woodworking, so
got
we
it.
made some
All
things
right.
out of wood
All
as
right.
well. But a lot of it was metal.
Yeah.
I mean, he made chips for, I don't know, everything. Like a stainless steel pot, he had made the little end of it. And so I got the little end of it
Yeah.
and built it into something. And so I think it all started then, and just kind of blossomed from there. So I went to school at Alexandria Tech for interior design. It was a 2-year program. And then I got an internship up in Grand Forks and went to UND for marketing. Part of the reason I went on, well, my boyfriend at the time, which is now my husband, went up there for occupational therapy. And so, of course, I kind of wanted to be around him. I debated on continuing in interior design in Fargo, but thought, maybe I should broaden my horizons. It was in '08. Oh gosh, that sounds so long ago. But the economy wasn't wonderful. So going to school was a great occupation at the time.
Yeah.
So I did an internship up there. It was residential. Then I started working in Menards because I just wanted to be in the realm of something and learn more about design while I was going to school for marketing.
And so when you say Menards, like, were you stocking shelves, or were you like working like in some sort of design capacity, helping people with their kitchen builds and stuff like that?
So Menards has a lot of different departments. And when I was thinking about going there, they all said the paint department is the funnest department to work in. And at the time, I was like, okay, I have a little bit of involvement in paint, but it really wasn't much.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I'm going to deal with this for the rest of my life, I'm going to spec it eventually. It would be really good to know a little bit more about it. And they also do cabinets. I don't know if you're aware of that, but you can go in and build cabinets. And I've
used the software before.
Yeah. So you can go in and you can build it, and they help you with that. That required quite a bit of time, and I was still going to college, so I picked the paint department.
Yeah. Cool.
So then after we graduated from UND, we moved to Iowa, and we lived in Iowa for 8 years.
Wow. In Iowa City, in Des Moines, where were you?
So we started out in Des Moines, which everybody always says, why Des Moines? It's wonderful.
Des Moines is lovely. Really lovely.
And everybody's like, it's flat. It's not.
Yeah.
We lived on like a ledge, and there's hills depending on where you go.
Yeah.
So we started out in Des Moines, still doing residential. Then I got my first real job in commercial at Musco Lighting in Oskaloosa.
All right.
So I traveled for an hour and a half one way commuting until we moved out to Pella, and they are absolutely wonderful. My boss then was, I still wonder and try to replicate things that he does. And I think, well, what would Jeff do in this situation?
Well, that's really fun.
And the company was great to grow up with and learn. And eventually we decided, we had a couple little humans. And we decided we should either move back to Minnesota or friends would be family.
Yeah.
So moved back up to Minnesota and started working at HMA.
Sweet. And you said you've been at HMA now for 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah. So in the 15-ish years that you've been in the industry, like, how have you, like, what has changed in the industry? I know, like, aesthetics change and, some style and stuff changes, but is there anything that's, like, really kind of cataclysmic or really big that's kind of shifted in the industry?
So there's quite a bit. I mean, the birth of Pinterest came about.
Interesting.
So when I got married, Pinterest was just coming to fruition, and I didn't delve into it because I figured, if I start in Pinterest, my wedding will change 500 times.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, we're going to set this aside. We're going to come back to it. And so now it's a lot different. And also people watch shows. And so that changes things. When you get to like the commercial realm, it's a little bit different. And there was a time where I had to decide, am I going to go commercial or stay residential? And they say those that go more commercial like to think with both sides of their brain. Because there's a lot that goes into drawings, specifications, RFPs, a lot more specific versus picking window treatments or curtains.
Yeah.
So I went into commercial, and I love it.
Sweet.
I think my favorite part about the area, my favorite part about design is really the people. So my favorite part is really programming.
Really?
It is.
Okay.
That's where you really dive into the person and the group, the owner, and what they want. So, for instance, we are working on the house in St. Joe. And these wonderful couple, Craig and Brian, came to us and they said, we want to build an office or a space where a bunch of people can come and use and, give a little bit back to the community. While going through programming, we discovered that maybe that isn't the right option. And so they put in a QR code out to the community, and the community provided feedback. And Craig and Bri, they love St. Joe. Like, I have never met such passionate people about St. Joe than when meeting them. And when it came back, they said, you know what? We're going to do a food hall. We're going to have 3 restaurants. We're going to have a tap house. And it's all because of what the community wanted.
That's really fun. Really, really fun.
And so then
Is
it gets...
that on that corner where the old, service station was? Yeah.
Yep.
And when does construction start on that?
It'll break ground this fall.
Wonderful. That's really exciting.
It's really exciting. And then we get into the actual design of it. So we've gone through the layouts, and then we dive into, okay, what do you want the space to look like? What do you want the space to feel like? What do you want the space, what kind of finishes? And I never start with, okay, what colors do you like? Because that's not the approach we're going.
Right.
It's, what do you want it to feel like? Do you want somebody to come in and feel warm and cozy, or do you want it to be bright and energetic? And you would never believe the adjectives people use when they describe their space.
What's the best adjective that you've heard, or the adjective that's the most unique that someone has said?
So, do you know Oberg Roofing and Remodeling?
Yeah.
So their trucks, they're very masculine, and they're black, and they have very masculine writing on the outside. So Caleb Oberg came in, and we sat down and we went through the same thing. And I was like, okay, what do you want it to feel like? What do you want the space to... He's like, I want retro. I about dropped off my seat. I was like, okay, retro, what does that mean to you? Because of course it means something different to everybody.
At what era of retro?
Yeah, and what about retro? And so I'm like, okay, well, maybe he just likes the curved lines, or maybe he likes, I don't know, the furniture, the angular, parts. No, he said the pastels.
Whoa.
And I was like, this is going to take me a minute before I get into pastels and Oberg Roofing and Remodeling. And I can tell you that project is phenomenal. The outcome, the best thing an owner can say to you is, I dreamt it and you made it.
Oh, that's really sweet.
And that's what he said. And it looks amazing.
Cool.
If you, well, you're going to be photographing it, so you will get in, but it looks so cool in there. So that was the biggest surprise. That's what took me off my feet. I was never expecting that. So my design approach is where I try to jump into somebody's mind, as weird as it sounds, and understand what they want. And so I try to ask as many questions as I possibly can to figure out what they really want. And and then take my expertise and put it together. And so if I'm working on multiple projects that are all over the board, which is typical, sometimes jumping from one project into the next project is kind of, in a way, I feel like an actor where you're jumping into a role and just trying to figure out what they want and need. And so I'm jumping from one role to another role, and it's interesting.
I think that maybe one of the reasons why it has been so fun and kind of unique working with HMA, as Switchboard, is so much of what you just said about that kind of like discovery process of trying to you have to learn who that person is and kind of what makes them tick. And, we have to do those same kinds of things. And ours just happens to be often 2D, and you're building these big giant 3D things, but the process is so remarkably similar. And so I think that was fun, just like having shared language as we were trying to do some of those same things for you, but just in thinking about website and photo and video and stuff. So,
Yep.
really
My
fun.
most accomplished design is one that works for the owner.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work for the owner, then it was not a good design.
One of the things that we say all the time, especially with things like scripts, like for video, is you have to wear it. It doesn't matter if I like it or not. You have to wear this. And so does it feel good on you? And so that same kind of thing.
Yeah. Does it feel good, and does it work well?
Yeah.
Can you work in the space?
That's cool. Do you have a project that you are, I know there are so many projects that you love, and I know there's people behind all of them that you also really love, but is there a project that you have worked on, it could be done, or a project that you're excited to start, or something that you just think is man, that's maybe some of the best work that I've been able to be a part of, or maybe just your favorite for some other kind of reason, but is there something in particular that you think stands out?
So to pick a favorite is like picking my children.
Okay.
I have so many that I absolutely love. And I love all the different opportunities.
Yeah.
It is so fun to be able to go to Centricare or, work with Lily at 1040 or, I don't know, Ian with Obank.
Yeah.
It's everything. We do everything except for K through 12. And so getting to do all of those different types of projects are fun. So I'm working on one right now. It's probably one of the bigger ones that I've worked on. Unfortunately, I'm not able to say who it's with,
Okay.
but the group is phenomenal. The contractors, the owners, the design, it is, when you are able to take photographs of it, it will be beautiful.
Disneyland, right?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
For me, it's Disneyland.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, I can't wait to see it. Unless it's maybe one that I know about.
You may have walked through it.
It's so good. It's so good. It's so beautiful.
What was your favorite part about it?
Well, first of all, I said to someone today about it, I said, I have never seen anything like it in St. Cloud.
Yeah.
The fact that will be inside of our community is staggering to me. It's very, very excited. It's the kind of thing that it feels like the Metro gets a lot of, that kind of maybe intentionality and thoughtfulness, seemingly not caring a ton about some of the expense of just doing it right is going to cost. Well, we want to do it right. That kind of thing. It just feels like sometimes is elusive in our community. And it was just the attention to detail everywhere in every square foot of the 1 million square feet that we walked through. The attention to detail through it was absolutely staggering. I think how in the big main room, just how grand the space is and how it feels it's so big, and it also felt so inviting. I think it was so fun. All the wood tones, well done.
Yeah, you haven't seen it all done yet, so.
No, it was deeply under construction.
There are some lights that are going in right now.
Cool. Well, I'll get to see it soon, and then all of you can
Yes.
can go and see it. Maybe by the time this airs. No? No? Okay. All right. Because we could, in post, we could right here,
It'll be August.
August, okay.
Yeah, so we're not there yet.
No. All right.
But it is like Christmas every time going there.
Yeah.
New things come in,
Yeah.
new things are done.
Even yesterday when we were walking through it, you were like, oh, that's new. I haven't seen that one yet. Oh, they put that up. Oh. It was really, really fun. Well, cool.
Again, the owners are awesome.
Yeah.
And they designed the space, or we designed it as a group, for their users.
Yeah.
Their employees, for the community, which is incredible. The amount of owners that I work with that care so much about their employees and what type of employees that will be in there and how they can make it work. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. Really, really cool. Well, I'm eager to go in again. And I mean, even I bet you when I go in the next couple of weeks or whatever it is, it will feel so drastically different even than what it felt like yesterday. So well done on that one. And I'm excited for everybody to have the opportunity to go and see it. Do you have a favorite building in central Minnesota that you didn't design? Like a building that, it could be an old building, it could be someone else's, just a building that you think, man, I'm glad that our community has that one, but that you guys had kind of no part in.
Had no part in. See, I have a special bit for every project I've been in. Like I leave a bit of me behind in every project. So to pick a building that I didn't work on, I can appreciate.
That's what I just mean. Like just from like you're at an art gallery. Oh, I love that painting, right? Like I didn't paint that, but I can understand and respect like the value of what that is, like in that kind of regard.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Puttery.
I don't know what the Puttery
You
is.
haven't been to the Puttery?
What is the Puttery?
It's an indoor putt-putt in...
Here?
Yeah, in the cities.
Oh, okay. Got it. I was like, there's an indoor putt-putt place in St. Cloud called the Puttery, and I've
There
never
is
heard of
not,
it. Okay,
but
all right.
that would be really cool.
It would be.
But it's like drinks, and they every space of the Puttery is designed differently,
Oh, that's really fun.
and so that would be really cool. A space that we need,
Which is?
a donut shop, like a fancy donut shop.
Yeah.
I jump on board with a fancy themed donut shop. Would be so fun.
I think it'd be fun too. That could be a fun podcast question for our guests. Is like what's a kind of business? What's an industry that we could use that would be fun for us to have in St. Cloud?
I also think an outdoor water park would be fabulous to have in St. Cloud.
A mom with two small children thinks that we should have a water park. I mean, I agree with two small children. I also agree that a water park would be great. Yeah, that'd be awesome. I heard, I mean, there's an aquatic center at the YMCA that they're trying to raise money for, which would have an element of that, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And there's a video I believe you can still watch online.
Great.
I have no idea who did the video.
Yeah.
Or maybe HMA.
Did HMA do it?
Yes,
Oh, okay,
HMA
got
did
it.
do it.
And I haven't seen it, so
But we really need it in the area. So
cool. It feels like one of those things that's far enough away with my children being 9 and 11, where it's like if we're still, if they're raising money on it, like by the time it gets built, like how old will my children be? And
the idea is that any children can go there, any age of any children. So they make big water slides. They still have a pool. They still have
all right,
like a zero entry for accessibility. And
cool.
I think it'll be very used. What do you think is missing?
I mean, and again, this is like a parent saying, I wish we had a water park. Like from my vantage point, from my seat, I would love more breakfast places.
What kind of breakfast place?
I mean, I'd take almost anything. But like, I think little mom and pop breakfast shops would be so much fun,
Okay.
In the metro, there's in every little pocket, in every little community, there's like a great little diner. And we have a couple of options in town for breakfast, but we don't, for a town this big, it feels like we just are missing. And we have Kay's Kitchen, which I happen to love in St. Joe, but like in St. Cloud, I just wish there were more. So I would
What
say
are you
that.
looking for in a kitchen, a breakfast?
Something that isn't quite like diner food, but that's like a little more elevated with really great ingredients.
So what's on their menu? Tell me what's on their menu.
I mean, great little sandwiches. And great little breakfast sandwiches. Awesome, like kind of elevated baked goods, stuff like that.
Kind of like Dulce's, in a way?
I don't know. Does Dulce's do breakfast?
That is a good question. I mean, they do lunch, and it's fabulous, but I don't know if they do breakfast.
All right.
Maybe Dulce needs to do breakfast if they don't already.
There we go. Absolutely. I would love brick oven pizza. I think like a fire roasted Neapolitan kind of style pizza would be wonderful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, speaking of St. Cloud, is there a gem? Is there some spot in St. Cloud that you think everybody needs to know about? It could be a great park or a fun business or a restaurant or something, but just some spot that you think, man, I wish more people knew about this spot.
So, like I said, picking a place is like picking a child.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of them.
Okay.
When it comes to food, I love Old Brick.
Okay.
I think it's fabulous. I
Yeah.
also love Konar. I also love Arroy.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. The other day we made a noodle soup. It was not compared to theirs, but it was fabulous. Also MC's. Oh my goodness. I will take their special any day.
Yeah. You can tell a lot about a restaurant. This is going to sound silly, all right? This is going to sound silly, but you can tell a lot about a restaurant by the way they approach the simplest of ingredients. MC's Dugout, hear me, they're pickles.
Yes.
Pickles are one of the easiest and cheapest things to buy. They come in a big 5-gallon bucket. There's a top on them. They last forever. Like it's a throwaway thing. And no one judges you negatively if you have just a run-of-the-mill pickle, right?
Yeah.
But if you are making a kitchen pickle, right? If you are making like a homemade pickle in your kitchen, I know a lot about you. I know that you care about detail. I know that you are trying to actually communicate something with your food, because there's no need to do anything like special with the pickle. When you go to MC's, because you need to go to MC's, you have to just order, could I get a little side of your pickles? Because they are so unbelievably good. I don't know, they got a new chef in the last, handful of years. And as often as we can, like when we're catering and stuff, we love to...
You do.
Oh yeah, we cater from MCs all the time, because again, these places that are like, they're doing something cool. Like I want to support them. I want to seriously. But the rest of the food is incredible. But like you won me with a refrigerator pickle. A kitchen.
You won
pickle.
me at pickle.
Yeah, it's so good. I also feel like in general, there are a couple ingredients that I know a lot about. Right, I know and understand mussels, and I know and understand Brussels sprouts. So because I know those ingredients, if I want to learn about a restaurant or a chef, how they kind of approach their food, if there are Brussels sprouts or mussels on a menu, I'll often order those if it's my first time, because I know what they should taste like. Because it's a food I really like. So Brussels sprouts can be so boring, right? They can just be so miserably boring. But if you can take this Brussels sprout and do something really special and really elevated with it, I kind of understand you. I kind of get you. And the same with mussels. Mussels are poor people food. They were, people that had money weren't eating mussels. And so people develop this awesome cuisine kind of develop around mussels. And I think they're absolutely wonderful and delicious. And I know a lot of people think they're gross, but you can kind of learn a lot how someone takes a humble ingredient and can elevate it. So if I'm going somewhere new, I always try to do that. And I guess a pickle is maybe kind of similar to that. If you know how to really elevate that thing, you've got my vote.
So how do you like your mussels?
I think I like mine in pretty basic garlic and lemon. Garlic, lemon, and butter or oil. Kind of a soup broth, but that is kind of garlic forward. Ironically, maybe some of the best mussels that I've had were actually down south, and they were smoked, and it was like a deep, rich tomato sauce for the base, but this really smoky. My mouth is actually watering.
I know.
As I'm thinking about those mussels. Yeah, but it was a really smoky kind of approach, and then the bread that they were served with was just on the verge of being overcharred. They had a steady hand, but it was almost like eating crouton bread, and then you dipped it in this unctuous, smoky tomato sauce with the mussels. It was very, very good.
Do you think they can be over seasoned? Do you think they can have too many toppings on them?
Yeah, I think a steady hand is good in every aspect of life, but yeah, I think so.
So we were in Florida in Destin, and they had this oven baked oysters that were
Do you like oysters?
And mussels. They did mussels too, I believe. But the oysters, oh my goodness. And they left them in the half shell and then they baked them and there was toppings on them. Oh my word.
Cool. That's great. So yeah, MCs.
So what
I'd
is your
recommend it.
favorite thing on the menu for MCs? If you were going in there, what would you order?
So this is boring because when I'm at MC's, I order the exact same thing every single time because I am dieting. You know, I'm just like, I'm trying to be so good. I'm on a little journey here, okay, with some health stuff, and the grilled buffalo chicken salad with 2 servings of chicken, so lots of protein, and then they make a homemade lemon vinaigrette dressing that is incredible. And so I put 1 ounce of the dressing on this salad and has some blue cheese and some bacon and like 2 portions of this grilled chicken. It's absolutely delightful. So it's a high protein, lower calorie thing. And so it's one of my favorite places to go because I know exactly what I'm getting there kind of calorie wise. And it is so unbelievably good. But their burgers are incredible. Their sandwiches are great. How about you? What's a favorite?
So my favorite is the PB and JJ.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. The jelly in it,
Yep.
whatever that recipe is,
Yeah.
I am in. It is so good. But I will order anything. I mean, when you go to a restaurant, do you always order the same thing or
It kind of depends. I think for like lunch, when I'm going out for lunch, it's often like work lunch. So I usually know where I'm going and there's kind of an efficiency to it. So I think I often order the same thing when I'm, going out for lunch. But if I'm like going out and I'm like having a nice dinner somewhere, I'll often try to eat seasonally or eat a special from the chef or something like that. But I think for lunch, I'm often ordering similar kinds of things.
so I have an aversion to that for some reason.
Let's hear it.
I can't order the same thing. I have troubles ordering the same thing
What about at Chipotle? Even at Chipotle?
everywhere. And so usually I go in there and I ask the waiter or waitress, what's the best thing or what's your favorite thing? And I order typically the first or second choice.
So just to be clear, since we're talking about Chipotle for a second,
Yeah.
you're standing in the line at Chipotle.
Okay, maybe not there.
The person is holding an unwarmed tortilla in one hand and a bowl in the other, and they say to you, "What would you like?" And you say to them, "Hi, I'm Allie. What do you like?" You're asking that person?
Well, not there.
Okay, all right.
I may ask the person next to me, but
Got it.
not the one behind the counter because they're too busy. But yeah, the person next to me, typically I order the same thing they do.
Interesting. All right.
I like variety. I can't.
And when it comes to Chipotle, we have talked a lot about food, which is so fun. When it comes to Chipotle, I have this fear because I think it all looks good. When I'm like looking at all the different protein options, like all of that looks good. But if I order that barbacoa, I'm going to be eating my salad and I'm going to be thinking to myself, the chicken's a little better. And so I might as well just get the chicken. And so like in those situations, I always get the same thing.
You do.
Always.
So, but you're always a salad person?
Yeah. Again, carbs.
Speaking of that,
Yeah.
so what's your favorite coffee drink that's delicious and low calorie?
I mean, if caffeine is not a part of the equation, I will drink a nitro 100 times out of 100. Nitro, it's so smooth and rich. It drinks like it's full of cream and it's just coffee and nitrogen. So I really love.
Have you ever had Lupulin's Nitro?
I have had Lupulin's Nitro. Yeah.
Oh my word.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Really, really delicious. Mm-hmm. Cool.
They have some really good. Are you a beer drinker?
I enjoy the taste of a really good beer. I drink beer so seldomly. Like maybe once a year, I'll drink a beer. And just like the situation has to be right. It needs to be 80 degrees. I need to be like standing in my backyard with my neighbors, and someone needs to have like a really delicious looking citrus forward mosaic hop IPA or double IPA. And then I'll be like, that beer sounds great. And then I'll jump into it. But again, for the most part, calories, etc. I'm not really drinking beer. Do you enjoy beer?
I quite enjoy beer.
Do you have what's your favorite?
So starting at HMA, going back to a bit of interior design architecture, my dream project was to work on the Lupulin And so, because Lupulin is my favorite beer.
Yeah. Which
And-
one? Who?
Well, they've had a few that they let go.
Yeah.
So there's quite a few that I like. I don't know, everything that there's delicious. But yeah, they've let a few go that I've really enjoyed.
They have a beer called Blissful Ignorance and Hui, which are, two of their
Most
big
common.
staple.
Yep.
And they're absolutely delightful. Again, big hoppy IPAs that I
I
really
love
like.
hoppy IPAs. If I can,
In general, grapefruit, like citrus forward things are in my palate. And I thoroughly enjoy that. And so those are big citrusy IPAs, which I love.
you're not the peanut butter stout.
No, get out of here. Get out of here with them chocolate, peanut buttery, whatever things. Like if I'm gonna have a beer, I'd like it to be real citrusy.
You don't want to drink a milkshake?
I'd like a real I'd like a real milkshake.
Like a beer milkshake.
Yeah. I mean, I think I got to go to Dublin, Ireland, with my mother many, many years ago. My mother almost died when I was a senior in college, and she had a really horrific brain aneurysm, and she was heading into surgery. And we were at Mayo, and it's an incredible story, which this maybe is not the time or the place, but how she ended up at Mayo, and the surgeon that was okay. I'll try to do it quick.
Yeah.
She had a really complex brain aneurysm, and like the aneurysm itself should have killed her, but it didn't. She ended up at Mayo. She got a bad diagnosis somewhere else, and then ended up at Mayo, and they, corrected the diagnosis. They found this very complicated brain aneurysm, and there was a brain surgeon there who said, "Okay, I'm going to do this." He went in to correct this aneurysm with a stent and coil, and she woke up, and so she thought like she had made it through and survived. And he said, "I'm really, really sorry. When I got in there, it is way more complicated. It is way more complicated than what I had initially thought. And there is one person in the world who I would trust to actually do that. And he started here a month ago." So a doctor named Dr. Lanzino, who's from Italy, and Mayo had been trying to get him to come from Italy, like the best brain surgeon in this subspecialty, who happened to be an Italian living in Italy, and for years they'd been trying to get him to come. And he had started working at Mayo a month before my mom's surgery. And so this surgeon, who's also a surgeon at Mayo, so I'm guessing a very accomplished surgeon, he did the right thing, and he didn't try to do it because it was beyond him. And he said, "There's one guy who can do this," and he just started working here. And so Dr. Lanzino saved my mom's life. And when she was heading into that surgery, I went in, right before her surgery. It was just her and I, and having this conversation with your mom, because statistically, like, she won't wake up from this, and you're kind of saying goodbye, and my mom and I are super, super close. We have a really special relationship. And she said, "I have one regret," which I thought was just like such an interesting and sweet little thing. In a whole life, in a whole life, she said, "I have one regret." And she's like, "I have a passport that has no stamps in it." And it just it wrecked me. And I was getting ready to graduate college. I was I was 23 at the time. And I already had a passport full of stamps. And so I'm sitting in the waiting room thinking about this comment that she made. I have a passport without any stamps in it. And I'm thinking about my passport full of stamps. And it's this realization of just kind of the selfishness in when you're a kid, and it's a kind of a piece of the human condition. But I never really thought about the fact that oh yeah, all of these cool trips that I got to do, my mom was helping make those happen. And she would encourage me to go. She'd help me in affording to go, choir tours and all these things, that costs money. And my parents were involved in all of that. And when I come back, she wanted to hear all the stories and see all the pictures. She was just this champion of me going and experiencing so much of that. And I had never once thought, has my mom ever gotten her stamp? And so I thought to myself, if she survives, I'm going to take her. And so I'm sitting there praying that she survives for 1,000 reasons. And one of them was I'd like to see her get her first stamp. And so longer story, I guess a little shorter. She survived by God's grace. She survived. And a couple months later, I surprised her. My mother hates surprises. and I surprised her with a trip to Ireland. And so her and I got to go and experience Dublin, and going to, guys, brevity, it's not a strong suit of mine. Okay. Camera 1, 2, 3, brevity. It's not a great skill set of mine. I'm working on it. But all of that to say, while we were in Ireland, we got to go to the Guinness storehouse and the museum there. And so I think the first Guinness I ever had was in their Infinity Bar, this beautiful, unbelievable museum. As a designer and architect person, a designer that works with architects and thinks about how buildings are put together, you would love this tour. You would absolutely love it. The building is tall and skinny, and you work your way up through the dark, and it is so beautifully laid out. And then the Infinity Bar is the whole top floor of this building with 365-degree views of Dublin, and it's all like white and open. So as you're taking the tour, it's what a Guinness looks like. It's dark with this big white head on the top of it. And so even just the way they laid out this museum. And so, like, I guess I used to maybe enjoy ales and I guess lager. No, what is Guinness ports and
Yeah.
not port.
Just like a wheat beer.
Ales, no, whatever they are. Big, dark, heavy beers.
Oh, like a, yeah.
Yeah. And
A stout.
Stouts, yeah. And I just kind of lost taste for them. But whenever I think about drinking those, I think about the first one that I ever had, which was with my mom on the top floor of the Guinness storehouse with her being alive.
So is that where your mom wanted to go? Did your mom want to go?
So my mom's name is Colleen, which in Gaelic means little girl. My mom is very Irish. My grandmother was 100% Irish, which makes my mom at least 50% Irish. And so yeah, it was just a really great place for. I mean, it's I think for sure where she wanted to go first anyway. But also they speak English. You know, like it's kind of a good first step. We went in the springtime, and it's called the Emerald Isle for a reason because it's green and beautiful all the time. But in the spring, it's just like luscious and vibrant. It's so unbelievably beautiful. So Ireland, I'd highly recommend a beautiful trip in the spring to Ireland. But
So where else do you want to go?
do I want to go?
Yeah, where else
I mean,
do you
if
want
it's
to go?
on the globe, I would like to go.
If it's on the globe, you would like to
I
go.
would like to go.
There's no spot that you're like,
None.
maybe I'll pass.
None. Every one of them. Like,
So if money was no object and you could pick one location, where would it be? One.
right now,
Right now.
my wife and I's 15-year wedding anniversary is coming in the next year or so. And so going to Italy would be, I think, is really, really high on the list. I spent a lot of time in Europe, but have never been to Italy. My name is Gaetano Cirillo Magno, and I have never been to Italy. So there's part of me that like needs to go for, heritage, etc. But it's so beautiful, and I love Italian food. And I have this little dream of like maybe skipping all of the really busy touristy spots and just for like a week or two, getting a little like country spot and just like walking into town and like having, like little gnocchis and stuff made by a sweet grandma in a little shop.
And a cappuccino
yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah. How about you? If money was of no object, where are you going?
I've always wanted to go to Australia.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah. And climb a mountain.
Yeah.
And sleep by the beach. I mean, I know there's a lot of danger on the beach, but I would like to do that.
Sweet.
My parents did just get back from Croatia, which they said
Underrated.
was phenomenal.
Everything that I've heard about Croatia is incredible. Yeah. Have you seen pictures yet? Was it super pretty? Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah. Fun.
So I would love to go there too.
Yeah.
And I heard the people are absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. Well, sweet. Allie, thank you so much for coming and joining us on the podcast. Kind of as we close here, this is a little segment that we do. It's an unpaid advertisement. So I'll let you start. Is there something or some place or someone that you think deserves a little shout out on the Chit Chat podcast?
So when I think of something that I want to do that gives me the most amount of joy, it is going out dancing. And so I would like to, I have a favorite band, and I may have gone to one of their concerts in one town and drove many of hours to go to their concert again, but it's Foreplay.
Okay.
And I don't even know if they make any of their own songs, but cover band, and I'm there every time. I mean, I will move things around to
So
make
what's
sure.
the favorite song? If someone's going to go and listen to a favorite song, what song is it?
So like anything, I love variety.
Okay.
And so they play everything.
Cool.
And it's incredible. I mean, you don't stop moving. Well, I guess that's me anyways.
Yeah.
Even when we got married, if you wanted to chat, it was on
Come
the
on the
dance floor.
dance floor.
Yeah.
I shot many, many weddings. My kind of first career was as a wedding photographer. And those are some of the most fun when the bride and groom like wouldn't leave the dance floor. And like it sets the tone for the whole night of just like really, really fun. So that's cool.
It's my favorite.
Well, sweet. Allie, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it very, very much.
Thank you.